my view of socialism comes from the Indian version of socialism, which was, something that was introduced by a revolutionary thinker named Ram Manohar Lohia. And Ram Manohar Lohia was in Congress earlier, along with another great person called Jayaprakash Narayan. So you have JP Nagar in Bangalore, right? It's named after Jayaprakash Narayan.
Right.
So Jayaprakash Narayan, Ram Manohar Lohia, these two people were in Congress. They were very close to Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru himself had a very sort of his own version of socialism. It's called Nehruvian socialism is how they refer to it. So he was a socialist himself, and he really liked these guys, and these guys liked him, and they had a little bit of a, like their own little thing going on in Congress. So within Congress, they had their own socialist, like a part of Congress was considered Congress Socialist Party, whatever, something like that. So they were together till independence. Then post-independence, they were like, okay, you do you, we'll do our own thing. So they established their own thing called the Socialist Party. And the Indian fundamentals of socialism are that the people of our country that are disadvantaged, that are at either at a historical disadvantage or cultural disadvantage, or some kind of a disadvantage in terms of like economically, financially disadvantaged. Anybody who's in that position where they need help, where they are not a part of our society equally, they don't have an equal opportunity or equal access to opportunities or an equal ability because of their circumstances to be able to access those opportunities. These people need to be given some kind of special support to bring them up. Okay. And my personal vision sort of extends beyond that a little bit to also see where there is inequality in terms of being able to access fundamental rights. Okay. So I consider that as something that is also a part of my personal sort of socialist understanding of the word socialism, like the understanding of the word socialism. So to put it into words, for example, there is somebody who is born in a caste that is, like a caste that is historically underprivileged, and they have been denied access to resources. And because of that, they are just not able to match, the other people. For instance, I can tell you very simply, like a very simple example. You put a student from a slum, who's from a historically underprivileged community, into a very, very good school. Okay. And there's another student from a family that has been historically privileged. And both the students study in the same. They are equal. They're literally equal when it comes to their mental capabilities and everything. There is no difference between them. But the student that comes from the underprivileged community, the historically disadvantaged community, this student, when both these students get homework, both of them go back home. The one who's at the disadvantage, that kid goes home. The mother's illiterate. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't know how to teach this kid. The father is out there working, and maybe he's also like partially literate or something like that. He doesn't have anybody in his entire society, in his entire like community who can teach him this homework, how to do this homework. And of course, he doesn't have the money to, because his parents have worked very hard to put him in that school, so they don't have the money to put him in a tuition class, for example, right? This kid's not gonna have a chance against the other kid. The other kid goes home, his mom's educated. His family's been educated since like 20 generations, they've always been educated. So his mother's gonna be like, okay, come here, I'll teach you this thing. The homework gets done. The kid's automatically like quickly at it. Like the first homework assignment is where the gap starts to build, right? And right from there, it just grows and grows and grows and grows. And then you got this gulf that is just impossible for this person to come over. So what socialism is supposed to do, I'm not saying it is doing that right now, but what it's supposed to do is to make sure that this little kid who is at some sort of a disadvantage culturally, in his community, he has access to resources to be able to cover that gap, to be able to bridge that gap and to be on the same footing as the other person.
Right.
A lot of people think of reservation, for example, as a very wrong thing. I personally think it was put in there for a reason, and those reasons still exist today. There's a reason why the economic crisis of the early 90s happened, because the system, like you said, was simply not efficient enough. A lot of the money that was meant for social socialist initiatives went into corruption, went into the wrong hands, and went into government offices and politicians filling their pockets. That's why our country sunk into a deep recession, and in such a pathetic place where Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh had to, rest in peace. Manmohan Singh just passed away. Like, both of them had to work hard to bring it. They had to literally. Unfortunately, I feel like that is the position we were cornered into. Where we had to liberalize our economy. It wasn't something we wanted to do. We wanted our country to have its own people building industries, building companies, more indigenous businesses, more of our people having the opportunities to excel in business in our country. But they had to bring in money from abroad because we were bankrupt essentially, right? Like, we had nothing left.